Welcome to Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life. Today we are exploring the powerful forces of motivation and hope, what they mean for us as individuals and as leaders. We will unpack the idea that you can't truly motivate others, but you can inspire them by helping them discover their own vision, pathway, and agency. Along the way, we'll discuss the core elements of intrinsic motivation: curiosity, passion, and purpose, and how autonomy and mastery fuel our drive. We'll also connect these ideas to the 6 fundamental human needs, from certainty and variety to growth and contribution. Whether you are leading a team, mentoring someone, or simply looking to spark your own motivation, this episode is packed with insights, frameworks, and real life stories to help you move forward. Let's dive in. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Polly. I hope the day finds you well, and welcome everyone to another episode of Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life. And I'm Steve.
And I'm Polly. Hey, Steve, we got something good for today, don't we?
Well, it's a topic that I'm very interested in and passionate about, and it has to do with this idea of motivation and hope and our role as leaders. And so that's the topic. I can just kick it off.
Oh, yeah,
And it's
please.
basically has 3 buckets: motivation and hope, um, a little framework that delves a little bit deeper, and then wraps up with how this subject ties into the 6 human needs. So with that, I'll get started. And I first heard this probably 2 or 3 years ago in a class I was taking with Dr. Benjamin Hardy,
Mm-hmm.
author, co-author of 10X is Easier Than 2X, and author of Be Your Future Self Now. And that is this idea. Well, I'll back up one. I believe that as leaders, we cannot motivate others. Now, how's that for a contrarian point of view? However,
Right?
having said that, I do believe we can inspire others to be their best. Motivation comes from within, and the word for that, you'll often see people contrast intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. I believe the extrinsic can only be inspired,
Mm-hmm.
that to be motivated has to come up from within. So with that background, what does it take for both hope and motivation? And Dr. Hardy summed it up this way. 3 things. 1, we need a clear and compelling vision. Dr. Jordan Peterson would say, what are you aiming at? What do you want to aim at? Because should not go through life without things to aim at. So 1 is a clear and compelling vision, a goal, something to aim at. Number 2, hope and motivation. We need a pathway to get there. We need to see or be coached or seek out a pathway to get there.
Okay.
Okay. And then 3, we have to believe and have the agency, meaning the ability, it's within us to take action towards that goal, down that pathway, and
Mm-hmm.
course correct along the way if necessary.
Yeah,
So
that
for both
that
hope
makes
and
sense.
motivation, clear and compelling goal, a pathway to get there, and the agency to get started and course correct along the way.
That makes total sense.
Okay.
Can can you break even down? Can you break down a little more each one of?
Well, I can go to the next item. So maybe I could break down intrinsic motivation a little more. Would that be helpful?
Yes, yes.
Yes. And this, I really love this model. It's a Stephen Kotler, Kotler. He's written many books. My favorite book of his is The Art of Impossible. It's really a
Okay.
book on peak performance, which is my area of expertise in helping others. And I love his basic framework he outlines, and I happen to hold this belief also, that there's 3 primary factors for intrinsic motivation: curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
passion, and purpose.
Okay.
So it's something you're curious about, It's something you're passionate about, and it ties into your life purpose or your bigger aim or why you're here. So I would suggest that both curiosity and passion. The question I like to ask people when I coach them is, Polly, what do you love to learn about?
Mm.
What do you love to learn about? I believe that question is a leading indicator towards what you're curious about and what you're passionate about. I can think back over the things, the things I've done, whether it's a hobby like the game of pool or golf, or a more technical topics like business valuation in my former life. Those were things I couldn't get enough of learning about. And in my case, my what I do statement is I not only like to learn, I like to acquire, apply, and transfer knowledge and skills. That's what I do. And
Yes.
so it's just a natural, but not, this isn't about me. This is a question for our listeners. What do you like to learn about?
You.
What can't you wait till that next magazine comes in or that next blog that you follow comes in? What do you love to learn about? And then if you find yourself sharing it with others, if you have that combination, I would suggest that's an indicator of both your curiosities and your passion.
Mm-hmm.
And the third piece is purpose, which is probably beyond that. We might do another episode on that, but purpose is really, why is that important to you? And we've asked that question before. Why is learning about this and sharing it with others important to you?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, Stephen Kotler says those are the foundational pieces of intrinsic motivation. But when you combine that with two more items, which he calls autonomy and mastery, autonomy meaning it's within my power to do this. I can do this. I choose to do this. I will get started on it. I have the autonomy. We used the word agency to act previously.
Okay.
And then mastery is not only do I choose to do this, but I have a burning desire to do it to the best of my ability. I want to master this craft, which gets back to how do you define mastery, which gets back to what are you aiming for? What's your clear and compelling vision? So I love how these two models
You're so connected.
sandwich together. And I will tell you that there's another book. This has been tremendously helpful to me, my journey through emotional quotient, which we've talked about previously. But Ben's three factors are also outlined in this book. I don't know if you can see it, but it's Daniel Goleman's book on emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
About a third of the way through, he does get into hope and motivation. And believe it or not, it's very similar to those three factors that I outlined earlier.
It is just, Steve, I really admire how you connect all the dots and the way you were bringing this lesson for us. Questions and conversations. So we are having the conversation on this topic. So I can see your eyes glowing and how you were when you talk about it. So it's a passion for you. And then you were acquiring knowledge, but you were also transferring the knowledge. So you were also embodying and living through what you were saying. That's the core example of it. So if you are listening and if you have the possibility of come to the YouTube channel and see Steve, he is just like, I'm all in.
Well, thank you, Polly, because this is something I am passionate about, and I love sharing this with others and helping others work through that. Before we go on to the six human needs and tying the final book in together, I'm curious. Well, two things. One is, this is questions and conversations on leadership in life. And I would like our listeners, and I'd be curious of your thoughts to reflect on that. So if I'm a leader leading a team of people or a mentor to someone, remember, we want to be providing more resources than demands.
Hmm.
How might I bring this idea of clear and compelling vision, pathway to get there, agency to act? Can you see how coaching someone to talk about, hey, in our organization, there's a couple career tracks. Take public accounting. You could specialize in tax. There's other areas you might be advisory. Letting someone know in the first 2 years about different tracks, challenging them, suggesting to them to find out which of these they love to learn about. Can you see how this plays into our role as leaders?
Yes. Yes.
Helping people have something to aim at, helping them understand the pathway within your organization to get there, what external resources they might want to dig into to get there, how you as a leader can provide resources to them, and then showing them that they have the agency to act. Curious of your thought of how that ties into leadership, and maybe you might have some examples from your life uh, that come up for you.
Yeah, when you were talking about it, thinking of the word motivation and thinking of the word that you use, like inspiring people, it's I the one very short thing that comes to mind is, as a coach, as a leader, I'm gonna open the door to you. But the motivation, I can try to bring this motivation out of you, but as you said, it's totally on the person to cross that door and to keep walking through that door. So it is, you were talking about it, it reminded me of a conversation I had with one of my language students who I was coaching 101 at the time. And the student was on a plateau and say, I cannot do anything else. What I am,
Okay.
and then I am
So she
showing,
was so she was stuck.
she was stuck in a plateau, correct. And that happens whenever we are learning something. There are moments where we feel like, where am I going from now? I cannot get anything else. And when learning languages, it's quite of the, there's a challenge, a big challenge in there. And then bringing like more awareness to the moment, I am, it's dawned on me like I can show paths, different paths, and I can challenge, because you used that word and I use that word with her. I am challenging you to go either this way, or this way. So writing, you love to read. So write something about you were reading in the language that you are learning, or you love to read. And then instead of writing, try to say a few words in the language that you're learning. Even if you are reading in your primary language, try to do that activity. And then I was like, I'm challenging you, think about it. And if you take that challenge, then it's coming. There is the motivation, like something, and something is sparked with that word. But we all, whenever we are leading, what I hear you saying also is like, come with the compassion. It's not the, like I'm imposing. No, I am inspiring you to do
Yeah,
something.
you are. And as I listen to you, of those three things, what you are doing and what you just described is you're showing them that you're helping them see the pathway, see the pathway. And I know my journey to becoming a CPA, someone showed me the pathway to get there.
And you did
Because
it
I was,
yourself.
we've covered that in another episode, so we won't cover it again today. But that pathway as a leader, helping them see that pathway, and even more importantly, helping them understand if it is to be, it is up to me. You know, that 10 word, 2 letter sentence, that they have
Right?
the agency to act.
Yes. Yeah, it's so interesting. What the words you were bringing, they related to so many things in our lives. So many things. But I want to listen, I want to hear more. I want to learn a
Oh,
little more
okay, well,
here. I
the
think our
final,
listeners too.
sure. Well, the final thing to wrap up the book in, and I first heard, we've probably all read, studied, heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's been
Okay.
around a long time, taught in a lot of marketing courses. You know, we go from safety to love and belonging to significance, purpose, and meaning.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an article, and you can just Google the 6 human needs. This article I'm looking at is by a gentleman named Parth, Parth, Sawhney. 2 page article, but the 6 human, they tie into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but I really like the last two. So what are they? It's certainty. We like certainty in our life. Well, the other half of that is uncertainty or variety. We
Mm-hmm.
also like variety in our life. Life would be dull if we were in Groundhog Day, day after day after day. Um, we significance,
Okay.
love and belonging. So those four basic human needs are sustaining needs. They tie into Maslow's hierarchy of needs very well, but those are things that sustain us. The next two are things that fulfill us.
Mm.
Growth. In growth, the need for growth is all about expanding our capacity, capability, and understanding. It's about continuously learning, improving, and evolving as individuals. Without growth, we stagnate. So this
We
always
die.
growing individually, that's what AGI, little tax code term, adjusted gross income, but I changed it to always growing individually. So we should always be growing individually.
Yes,
And then
yes.
the last thing is contribution.
Mm.
Inside all of us is this burning desire, this human need to make a contribution around serving and supporting others, a contribution back to the world. And I like to add it a contribution larger than ourselves. And I will give a quick shout out. I first heard of these needs maybe a summer or two ago by one of my teachers, Michael Walsh, who's just coming out with the book Freedom by Design, which I've read an
Okay.
advanced copy and it's excellent. He first exposed me to the six human needs, and I went on and I was curious and I went on and learned more. And I believe they just tie right in to wrap up. Kind of, we've talked about three things today: what's necessary for both hope and motivation.
Yeah.
We've talked about intrinsic motivation, curiosity, passion, and purpose. And when you book in that with the autonomy to get started
Mm-hmm.
and the desire, burning desire for mastery to be the best you can be at that. And then you tie it up with,
Yeah.
hey, I'm aiming at something that's not only going to help me learn, but it's going to put me in a position to make a contribution to others that's larger than myself.
And it brings me back to thinking when we are contributing to something larger than ourselves, we are the first beneficiaries of it.
We are the what?
The very first beneficiaries, we are the very first ones to really feel and see and hear the results of it because it's coming from us. So it is a cycle. Like it's coming. I'm doing this. I'm contributing to the world. That is amazing, and it's for me also. So it's not just there, but it's coming, and I am going to have the benefits of it.
Yes.
So you,
Well, we started this podcast with my contrarian view that we cannot motivate others, we can inspire them, and we inspire them by showing them the pathway to hope and motivation, are the three factors: educating, sharing that with them, help
yes.
get them something to aim at.
Let's get that question, that statement, and let's transform it into a question.
Sure, I can take a first shot at it, but or why if something popped in your mind right away before I jump in, would you like me to take a shot at it, or do you have a thought?
Yeah, when you think of let's motivate them, give them something to aim for. So maybe for our listeners, we can think of some things. What do you want others? What do you want to have others to bring forward into the world? How can you motivate? Remember, you're motivating yourself, but you're inspiring the other to do something. And and by you doing you yourself doing it, you are also influencing the other. If you have a question, something
I
that we can
do, and this can be
be
a
more.
question you ask yourself, or as
Mm-hmm.
a leader, a question you ask someone you're working with and developing and creating a pathway for is, what do I love to learn about?
Mm-hmm.
What can I
That's
just
great.
not help myself? What blog post can I not wait to come out next week?
I love it. Yeah.
What I can't wait to get the next issue of Golf Digest and read it from cover to cover. Uh, in the business valuation world, I couldn't wait to get a couple of newsletters that came out and just devour them. So I think that question gives you some insight to what you're curious about and where your passions may lie.
Mm-hmm.
And I also suggest that as you have a desire to learn something, and you get better at it, as our skill set increases, I think passion follows that.
True. That's
So
true.
great book on that topic by Cal Newhart, Be So Good They Can't Ignore You. Really gets into the
When I
idea
grow
of
up, I
that.
want to be like you and remember all the names of the books and the authors. When I grow up, I want to be like
Well,
you.
it's a blessing
No,
and
I
a
have you.
curse. Yeah,
I have you to do that here in this
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, yeah. So well, thank you, Polly. That would be for both yourself, and then based on that, the subpart or the second part of that is based on that, what do I want to aim at? What's this clear
Mm-hmm.
and compelling that do I want to teach others?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to have Polly help her get to, I'm just making the title up, get to senior manager, get to running a division, get to leading a team?
To have the goal.
Yeah, help them with the goal. And there's a saying, I don't know who to attribute it to. And it's many people have gone farther in their life than they thought they would because someone else thought they could.
Oh,
Many people have gone
yes.
further in their life than they thought they would because someone else thought they could. And they transferred that and they helped them see that vision and they gave them the confidence and the agency and the pathway to move towards that.
We all need a buddy pushing us up, like somebody that is in that moment being a mentor, a coach, to push us to bring out our best selves.
Yeah.
I like that. I really do. I can see lots of people who I have crossed paths with that haven't been mentors to me. And there are those who also write back, closing a loop, saying, thank you for what you said that moment. And sometimes it's like, I just said it. So we are responsible for what we say, how the others understand, and yes, being aware of all this influence we can have on others, motivating them to to have the goal, to have the pathway. That's amazing. Quite a conversation here. I like it.
Yes, and just one story that comes to mind to kind of put a period to this is that just pick a game, basketball, or I'll just pick basketball or soccer. Okay, there's a goal target at each end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine the gymnasium or the particular night on the soccer field is pitch black. You cannot see your hand in front of you.
Okay.
I mean, it's pitch black. I don't think too many people would be excited about playing a game of basketball or soccer in the dark with a target they can't see, the goal.
All right.
Yet we're willing to go through life with targets we don't even have.
So true.
And so let's help as leaders, let's help people find out what they love to learn about,
Yeah.
help give them something to aim at, work together with them on creating a pathway to get there,
Mm-hmm.
and then providing them the resources and agency to take the first step.
Freaking awesome.
That's what leaders do, among other things, but I think that's one of their highest callings.
Steve, raise the ceiling for those words.
Well,
Yes,
Polly,
absolutely.
thanks for letting me share that today. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot over the last 2 or 3 weeks as I think about it. Peak performance. There's so much many things from peak performance from the world of competitive athletics that transfer into our daily lives, and that's a subject that I'm incorporating into my trainings. Really, as a peak performance coach, helping people be their best when it matters most, under pressure,
Mm-hmm.
on demand.
There you go. Oh, thank you for the work you do, Steve.
Well,
like bringing the best out of others.
well, and thank you for co-hosting this podcast. We always have these delightful conversations and love to hear some comments from our readers. And as leaders, inspire someone
Yes.
today.
Yes. So true. Well, I will stick with the word inspire. Inspire others. You can wrap it up, or I can say that this
Well,
was
I
one
will
of...
wrap it up, Polly, as we always do. This has been another episode of Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life. And I'm Steve.
And I'm Polly. Thank you for being here with us.
And make it a great day.
There you go. See you, Steve.
See you later, Polly.
Thank you for joining us in this honest and reflective conversation. If something resonated with you, take a pause, write it down, or share it with someone close. We'd love to know what stood out for you today. What question are you carrying forward? And what's one small step you were inspired to take after listening to us? Remember to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Leave us a rating or a review and share this with someone who might appreciate it. Until next time, keep showing up with intention, curiosity, and heart. Questions and Conversations on Leadership and Life is produced by me, Polly Bellin Wilson, with music by freetouse.com.